Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast, one day later than normal. And today, on this week's episode, we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to start off by talking about spectator information being released for the World Championships. So, if you are interested in attending Worlds, you're going to want to stay tuned. If you're interested in getting into the Pokemon Center at Worlds, you probably want to stay tuned as well. We're going to talk about the brand new Ace Trainer rewards system that was announced. I guess it's a good thing that we delayed the episode by one day because if we hadn't, we wouldn't have been able to talk about this week. We are, of course, going to have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's real favorite segment of the podcast. And then we're going to wrap up this week by talking about the results from the Fortaleza and Vancouver regional championships, which took place this past weekend. Azul and I were both in Vancouver. So we'll give our thoughts and opinions on all of that and more. And then, of course, we will hop over to the bonus episode exclusive to our YouTube channel members and our Spotify subscribers. So if you're interested in getting some extra content from us each week, be sure to check out either of those two services. My name is Chip Ritchie, and I'm joined here as always by my friend and co-host Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing, buddy? How's your jaw feeling?
It's feeling a lot better. Almost back to normal. Not quite, I would say, but getting there. And then got to go back in for the checkup in like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, maybe closer to 3 weeks. That initial checkup done, and then I think I'm still like 3 to 6 months out from the next procedure. So I get to mentally prepare for that, and then that'll be good because it'll let me like kind of time it which way, whatever works for best for me for my like event schedule coming up as well. So but yeah, back from Vancouver. I did get back yesterday. We're gonna film on schedule. That was the plan, and I was feeling pretty good, honestly, driving back. But then once I got home, I was like, dude, like all my energy was gone. Like
Just
driving back
crashed.
felt fine. Um, did end up driving to Vancouver because of my dental surgery. Not allowed to fly for 30 days or until they do the checkup. Um, make sure everything's all okay. So did have to go with the drive, but I did get back Tuesday. But then yeah, once I got back and settled in a little bit, I was like, man, I am super tired. Like I could have done it, but I would have been like really low energy overall. Did end up getting top 32 at Vancouver. Really confident in my read on the meta, really confident in my deck choice and deck list. So I'm actually kind of bummed to have only gotten top 32 because I was so confident um, in the deck list, in my meta calls, and basically everything that I thought was going to happen happened as well. Like I wasn't like super far off, and I wasn't like, well, I kind of messed up this meta call. The tech card that I included wasn't actually that good. Yeah, basically all my thoughts on where the meta was heading lined up with what I thought was going to happen, or it lined up being true for the most part. And the list that I played, I was super confident in. But so I was really hoping for more than a top 32 finish. But two of my losses I did misplay. I didn't want to have like guaranteed me winning them, but I could have played a little bit better in both of them, giving myself a little bit better of a chance to eventually win those matches. So can only be frustrated with my own play more so than anything. But I guess it's like a good thing walking away from it that like the list that I played I think I had the best Maridon list by far out of anyone at the tournament, and then I think playing Maridon specifically was a really good call for the tournament, or like a solid call for the tournament. And the rest of my meta predictions were pretty spot on. Golden Go being like 10%, stuff like that. So I guess I can like go away from the tournament being happy that I had some things right. My play was the thing that was lacking a little bit for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's Pokemon's tough. It's hard to play a perfect. It's impossible to play a perfect tournament, and it's really hard to play a perfect game, let alone a perfect set. So, um, yes, mistakes are going to happen. It's just kind of the keys to deep runs. It's like making the good meta calls, which it sounds like you did, right? And having the good list for the day. But then like capitalizing on the positions that present yourself at a high enough frequency to get there, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
think even the tournament winner didn't play perfectly throughout the event, right? It's impossible.
Yeah, probably not. But Hedrick played pretty clean in the games on stream that I watched, so it was
Definitely.
definitely some high quality play from him at least. Definitely some mistakes on the opposing sides, but that's why it's always good. It's why it's good to see him end up with a dub, to be honest, because I think yeah he played super clean in his games. Definitely some mistakes from his opposition. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. How was your weekend in Vancouver, Chip?
Yeah,
In
Vancouver
the
was cool. Had fun doing the hosting stuff and got to do a couple segments. a lot of the stuff I kind of had planned didn't quite come through. But I did a lot more with before every single round. At least on day one, it's a little harder to plan it out in day two because there's like other stuff we're working on too. But before every round on day one, we started the round with me giving like an update on a handful of players that we were kind of trying to follow throughout the weekend, like
Hmm.
last season's champion, a handful of the Canadian players. Um, Brent Tonneson and Henry Brand, like just like, hey, this is like some of the top level people in the tournament that we're keeping our eye on. Here's how they're doing. Here's what they're playing. Here's how like, and I would go out and watch some of these games so I could like give updates on some like interesting things I saw happen and all that stuff. So I think that was cool. And hopefully if anyone watching the stream felt like that added just, even though it's like just a 60-second or less clip, it adds just a little bit more to keeping everyone engaged and watching and stuff. So hopefully that's the case at least. And hopefully we'll continue to do that at future events and stuff too. But yeah, it was fun. Shout outs to the guy who on Friday when I was walking through the venue made eye contact with me, and I could tell he like knew I was someone, and he was like, You're Azul's friend." So shout outs to that guy. And with that being said, I'm ready to get into this week's episode. You ready, Azul?
Yeah, that's fun. Hey, speaking of that, I did want to say something. Oh yeah, I mean, shout out to everyone who came up, asked me for like an autograph or take a picture or whatever. Always appreciate the support or people coming up saying that they're fans of the content or whatever. I had a lot of people come and say that they were a big fan. They got into the game because of our what's it called, Evolution series
I had a
on.
handful of people say that too.
Yeah,
It's very cool. Very cool to hear that stuff.
yeah, a lot of people saying that they got into the game because of watching us do the Evolution series on the secondary YouTube channel. So that was like super sick for people to come up and tell us like specifically they got into the game this year because of that. That's like really cool to hear. So, and that's like kind of what we're trying to do with that channel as well, as casual as possible, and it leading to people getting into the more competitive side of things is like a really cool thing to hear. So,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
yeah, appreciate the I don't know the shout out or the support or whatever you want to call it.
And we do have a new video coming out on that channel today as well. The day that this episode releases, we're actually going to start trying to release a video every 10 days or so. We've been doing every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So we're going to try to sequence it every 10 ish days or so. Hopefully, every other Wednesday, I think is what it is, something like that. Basically, every other Saturday, every other Wednesday, I think is about the schedule to be on. But
yeah.
this week it'll be on Thursday. So be sure to check it out if you're listening to this before noon Eastern time, because that's when it'll be coming out.
All right, so let's get into what is it? Spectator interest list for Worlds. I'll let
Yep.
you read the article or whatever. I just had a question about this before we get into it. Though. Did they do this last year? What was it like last year?
It was not. I think I don't remember for sure, but
It was a lottery system
I
last
think
year,
they
right?
just said, yeah, I think they said it's like going out this day, sign up. I don't remember for sure though.
I feel like it was a lottery system last year. I could be wrong. I feel like they did do a lottery system
Yeah, we're
for.
kind of bad at remembering these things because it's
Yeah,
not stuff that we have to do. So it's like not an experience we've had to go through, but we know it's like a pretty important thing and also something that a lot of people generally are interested in knowing more about. So
it's really weird that they call it an interest list, but you can go ahead and read through the thing to let people get more informed about it.
yeah, so it just says spectator interest list. Step one, add your name to the interest list for an opportunity to register for a spectator pass. I'm not going to read everything this says.
Yeah,
Step
yeah,
two, look for an email, register, and purchase if you are contacted. And then it gives a bunch of details. And the registration fee for one multi-day spectator pass is 99 USD. And then for a single
hmm.
day pass, it is 39 USD. And then for competitors, they do provide this information. All qualified invited competitors who join us in Anaheim will receive a competitor pass and two complimentary multi day spectator passes for their named guests, which I think is the exact same thing they did last year.
Yeah, we got 2 last year. Hopefully, this time they don't make you have to go with the people who are gonna get the passes. That's, like, really annoying because a lot of times, like, the last 2 years, I think for me, like, I met up with, like, friends or, like,
It's just
friend
another thing you had to coordinate, right?
yeah, like, family of friends or something like that, and it's like, I definitely wanna, like, hook them up with the passes, but it's like having to, like, meet up with them and coordinate with them to all be together, that's kind of annoying. I kind of get it, I guess, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's necessary, like, couldn't I just input their information online, and then they just show up with their ID or whatever? and be like, "This is I'm me." Then my name is on the list for spectator passes.
Yeah.
Me this like, why do I need to be there with them? I don't think it really. There should be a system where that doesn't need to exist. Basically, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little weird. Or just let me
Yeah.
pick up 2 passes and then give them to whoever I want. That would also be fine as well. But they do say,
Well, I think they're
uh,
trying to limit the, like, scalping as much as possible with
yeah,
it.
yeah, I guess that is fair, to try and limit this guy. But then just let me like put in 2 names online for my spectator passes and let people show up with their IDs to pick up their spectator passes. Like that
Yeah.
shouldn't be that hard. And that I guess like that still maybe reduces scalping a little bit, right? Because you'd have to like meet up with the person, but it's kind of like the same thing at that point. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess they call it an interest list, and I was like, do you have to like fill out? I was gonna click join the interest list. I wasn't actually gonna join it just to see what information they make you fill out. Is there like a like, is there like a do you fill out some sort of information that would lead you to not being able to make it through? I assume it's just like a lottery, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's just, like, email and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would assume so at least.
Yeah.
And then they also posted as well opportunity for people who are media slash creators to apply for passes as well. And I actually saw some people posting about like submitting it on Twitter and hearing back really quickly. So I mean, I think that's kind of
Yeah.
a good thing as well. Like, it's a bummer because I think most of the people who I saw, like the one I saw was Cora. Gorgio, the ex commentator, she applied for one and got like denied right away. I think it was like within a couple hours. So it's kind of a bummer to hear that you get denied, but also at the same time, you'd rather hear quickly so that you know, like, oh, I just need to make sure, like, if I get the interest list, I should join in.
Yeah. I assume they want to do that as soon as possible. Yeah. So they could give you the opportunity to get a spectator badge, or even maybe decide to like, be like, you know what? Well, maybe I'll try and compete a little bit harder for the rest of the season and try and get my world's invite or something. That could be the route some people take. But just yeah, letting you know as soon as possible whether you made it or didn't is that's definitely nice of them to just get out of the way.
Now, one thing about this is that this is a lot more expensive than it has been in the past for a World Spectator Pass.
What was it last year?
I saw someone say $40. I don't know for sure, but I did see that on Twitter somewhere. I don't know like the facts though.
Yeah, I wonder if like we can like look up um that
Probably
information
not.
easily. It's so hard whenever you like try and Google stuff about past
Yeah.
worlds or regionals. It's really hard to find those pages. It's like they don't exist.
Yeah.
Honestly,
They
it's
like
possible they don't. Like
they just route you to the current stuff, yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm sure it's archived somewhere, but I don't know if it's, like, easy to access.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, 100 yeah, it definitely is quite a bit more. Um, hopefully this means that they're gonna try and have more going on at the events. Hopefully that's part of it, part of the reason for the increase in price. They're gonna have hopefully more stuff for people to do who are just going there to spectate. I mean, they always have the Pokemon Center, right? And the last couple of years, I feel like they've done a lot in terms of maybe
Okay.
even since London. Go ahead.
I did find the Spectator Pass info for last year. This is on the Elite Four forum or Elite Forum. I don't remember what it's called. Elite Forum, yeah. Which is a big collecting forum, like old school. Single day passes, 14.99. Multi day passes were 39.99.
Yeah, so over double the price,
Yeah,
is quite a bit,
big time
and
increase.
it was in Hawaii last year, which is a lot more expensive to, like, run stuff or just to kind of exist there. So, hopefully this means they are gonna have, like, more stuff going on. I feel like that since London, they have done a good job of, like, having I don't know, I guess maybe since Japan. I mean, some of the stuff you did kind of have to, like, get into a lottery with, like, the parades and stuff like that they had going on. Um,
Yeah, that was a big thing in Japan because I
yeah.
remember trying to sign up for like everything and got nothing.
I think they had stuff like that in Hawaii as well. Maybe not quite as
They
big.
I think they did have that stuff in Hawaii, but yeah, it was not there. I don't like there was a drone show,
I
but
saw that.
I think they
Yeah.
did it every single night, and so they never there wasn't like tickets or anything to get in.
Yeah.
Like it was free.
Yeah.
So hopefully
So
they'll do something similar to that. I mean, the convention center area, like there's like so many hotels out in this kind of like one area. So like the way it was in Hawaii, it's like they basically took over one of the resorts, like had all kinds of
yeah.
activities and stuff happening at the Waikiki beach area, right? Is what it was. So maybe they'll do something similar at this one as well. I hope so at least.
Yeah. Hopefully there's a lot. going on for that kind of price point. Actually, I didn't even notice. I didn't realize it was that much more expensive. I didn't see anyone like. It seems like one of those things that I would have seen people complaining about on Twitter, but I didn't see a single person actually mention that, to be honest.
I just saw
Maybe
one or
that's
two, I think.
maybe that's because of the next thing we're gonna be talking about here in a second that a lot of people were definitely complaining about. But yeah, hopefully that is. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like if it sells out every year, even if they increase the price, they're not gonna really lower the price, but hopefully they're maybe keeping that kind of in mind. The only way that they would ever, like, be like, "Ooh, maybe we should lower the prices," if it isn't selling out, right?
Mhm.
But hopefully this over 200, or was it 200% increase, um, means that they're going to have, or over 100% increase. That means that they're gonna have a lot more going on at the convention center, near the convention center, stuff like that. Other things that people can do and access with their spectator passes. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not really one to like jump to complain if we haven't actually seen what they're offering us for the price point. They're giving us a price point. It's one of those things where they would no one like as far as like an industry goes, like no one's ever telling you exactly everything that's going on this soon before the event actually happens. So
Right.
kind of have to wait and see. And then, people maybe this will discourage some people from wanting to go to next year's Worlds if they're paying $100 and they don't feel like it's worth $100 price point, and it's the same price next year. So
I've got a pretty good feeling based on the trend of the last couple of years, there's gonna be plenty to do.
yeah,
So,
hopefully.
I'm optimistic at least about that, and that's me saying that, not knowing anything. Genuinely not knowing anything. I know a
No
lot
one's
of
gonna
people
believe.
don't I know people don't believe that, but it's true.
Yeah, no one's gonna believe you, but yeah. But yeah, we can move on to talk about the next thing. And this is something we've been waiting for since the beginning of the season changes. And they finally released information, all the information, I guess, on the championship rewards program that was kind of teased, but also they
Mhm.
told us we'd be getting more information later. But it's been how many months since they told us?
Like 9 months, 10 months
Really? Has it really
almost.
been that long?
Yeah, I think the season information for this year came out after NAIC in, like, June or July, and yeah, it's March.
That's true. Yeah, so it's been a little while. But yeah, why don't you go ahead, break it down? What's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, so the program is called Ace Trainer Rewards. And they said last year we announced changes to the 2025 Championship Series that included an update to how players qualify for Worlds. Under the new system, a set number of competitors. So, yeah, this yada, 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 top 125, not a championship point threshold. When we announced the changes to the qualification system, we teased a new championship points rewards program that will provide trainers of all experience levels with additional incentives to battle for CP. Today, we're ready to unveil the Ace Trainer Rewards Program and all the details for the program's 2025 season. Individual trainers from North America, Europe, and Oceania rating zones who accumulate 200 championship points during the 25 season in Pokemon TCG, VGC, or Pokemon Go will be eligible to qualify for Ace Trainer status. Uh, da 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 da. There's some stuff about Unite teams and stuff like that. Once a trainer accumulates sufficient CP to reach Ace Trainer status and has satisfied the eligibility requirements, as applicable for individual trainers or as Unite teams, they will receive their rewards following the conclusion of the season. Ace trainers can expect to have their rewards shipped by January 31st, 2026. So that's a good bit of time after the season ends.
Yeah.
Nearly what, six? The season ends at NAIC in June, right? Or is this after Worlds? Do they consider the season to end after Worlds? I don't think so. It's like after NAIC, right? Because you can't earn points for Worlds anymore after NAIC.
Um. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, but they're not going to be sending them. I mean, they said they might not send them out until 2026, anyways, though, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So, and here's the rewards for the 2025 season. Trainers who achieve Ace Trainer status, subject to the qualifying criteria, will receive a celebratory fanfare card, a Pokemon TCG promo card previously exclusive to Asia, as well as a set of exclusive deck box and sleeves in Pokemon TCG Live. Yay.
yeah,
Trainers achieve Ace Trainer status are not automatically invited to the World Championships. Da 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 da. Da. Um, Celebratory Fanfare has been awarded as a promo card to trainers in Asia since 2021, often featuring unique artwork that celebrates the spirit of the season. And we're excited that the 2025 version of Celebratory Fanfare will be the first to be available outside Asia. Qualifying trainers will receive an email confirming they have qualified together with a reminder to opt in for rewards, yada, yada, so on and so forth. I think that is the gist of it.
So it's called the Ace Trainer Rewards Program. You get 200 championship points. You become an Ace Trainer. And the rewards for the 2025 season is a promo card, which is cool. The promo card is cool. Was it originally only available in where was it?
Asia. I think
In
it's been
Asia.
across Asia, like
Okay.
different languages. Yeah.
Yeah. Only available in Asia, and you might not get it till January 2026, right? Or January
Yeah.
26th. 2026 of January, end of
Yeah.
January 2026. Um, we talked about this a lot at the beginning of the season when it was first brought up. We talked about it a couple times since then, and I feel like the thing we said every single time, it's like this seems like it could be huge. Giving the players more things to play for, I think, is like one of the big things we always kind of come back to. Day two placement promos at regionals, another tournament between league cups and regionals, like more things to play for. Being able to earn championship points on PTCG Live. And then this was another one. The rewards program is one of the things that we know is a thing that's not just like this would be a cool if it existed, but they haven't said it's going to exist. This is something we knew existed. We should know what it fully entailed. And it's honestly, like, pretty disappointing. I think this was something that was really hard to mess up and not put out something where the community would be like, "Oh, that's really cool." And they could have even gone potentially way further than that and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is insanely cool for the community and for players." And yeah, they somehow messed it up. Like, I don't know, this feels
Yeah.
kinda crazy. Like,
I
you get,
think
like, a single promo card, which is cool because 'cause you're getting a card that hasn't existed, to have access to outside of Asia before, so getting access to that card is cool, but there's 1 point threshold of 200 championship points.
yep.
You get 1 card, you might not even get the card till next year. Like, it feels like very little interaction with the system to keep people engaged or want people to be engaged in it for very long.
Yeah, like, I mean, I feel like at minimum, there should have been tiers and, like, if you earn a certain amount of championship points, like, I think this is the right path, right? An exclusive promo card for getting to a point, right? That's really cool. In just like that in and of itself is very cool. But like the fact that that is it, that's all that exists, especially the fact that this was announced 9 months ago and we waited this long for this
Yeah.
to be what the announcement was, like one single promo card for 200 championship points is definitely a bit of a bummer because what if like to and then when you get to 300 you get an exclusive set of sleeves. When you get to 500 you get an exclusive playmat. Like I think if even just those two things, if they had added that in,
Yeah.
I don't think you'd see nearly as many people complaining about it. That would be pretty cool. But or set this promo card as like the higher end of it, of like the higher tiered thing, the playmat and the sleeves or whatever else it is. Um,
Yeah,
you
or
could
have
do like a Switch case for the video game players, a phone case for the Pokemon Go people, like there's a lot of things that could have been done with this. And the fact that it took them 9 months to announce this and it was just one single promo card is
yeah.
crazy. And
Yeah.
also another fact here, it's not available for players in Latin America, which is a huge percentage of the player base, like 30% of the player base, something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it feels like it's one of those things where I feel like we don't really actually truly know how big of a player base it is because their just events are always capped and always hit the cap so quickly that like we don't really get a great read. But I think I would actually say because Mexico is part of the Latin American player base, we got a good look at how big even the player base is in Mexico because they had their first regional for the first time in like 5 years or something. Um, yeah, it's been a while. And sold out instantly 1,100 players, like, it's pretty good, right?
Yep.
They got the Monterrey sold out instantly, um, and then
Oh,
those
did
sold
you
out
end up
pretty
getting
fast.
into that?
I did, but I'm not gonna be able to go. I have a family thing that I'm doing that weekend that I learned about literally, like, the day after I registered for Monterrey, so,
Way to go.
I was gonna go, yeah, unfortunately, I did end up taking someone's spot, if I could unregister, I would, but, yeah, I learned about the family thing literally the day after, but I was pretty set on going and wanting to go back to Mexico to play in another one after Merida, but it's not gonna happen this time around. Um, so yeah, a lot of I don't know, a lot of L's here. Yeah, not available in the Latin American region. That sucks, right? Like you said, a huge part of the player base. Single promo card. I think one cool thing that they did is like they did make it that the only thing you can earn, even if it is the easiest thing you can earn, is available to be earned just from playing at local tournaments, right? The 200 point threshold means you can get at local tournaments, which I don't think it would be a bad thing if there was something out of reach of just local tournaments only. Um, but yeah, it feels like there could have been so much. Like we said, you said there could be different tiers. You could even have like you could like accumulate championship points and then like effectively spend them in like some kind of exclusive shop that
Similar
you
to
get
what they
access
do for
to.
Pokemon professors. They do that for professors.
Yeah, yeah. So like, this does seem like a really lazy answer for 9 months of not telling us what it is. So that does make me actually think that this is almost like a Band-Aid. Like, they do want to do more. They just haven't been able to do it or figure out fully what they want to do. So this does kind of feel like this is a Band-Aid for this season, and then they are probably gonna expand on this quite a bit more in future seasons. But I don't know how it took them 9 months to not come up with something better than this, though. Like, that's even if they wanna make it better than what else they could have come up with in 9 months or 8 months or whatever, however long it's been, like, this seems pretty lazy, to be honest. So, definitely a huge disappointment for the community. I don't think anyone is, like, too psyched or hyped about this, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels
And like I said, like I think if they had announced this when they announced stuff last season,
yeah,
that would have
it'll
been
be different.
it'd be different, right? Nobody would care. But it's like
Yeah.
the fact that it took this long. And that is a good point. Maybe there is more coming in the future, logistically wise. They didn't quite get it all done or whatever. There's a, I guess, possibility of that, that there's plans for
Yeah,
like
but
future seasons. So
yeah,
it's like this is a start, but
they had so much time. Yeah,
they did have
I'm
so
not
much
trying
time.
to
I'm not gonna excuse them. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm just saying this feels like there probably is more to come out of this Ace Trainer Rewards, program or system or whatever you wanna call it, um, because of how little this is for how much time it took, and it does kinda feel like this is a Band-Aid for them. They probably just shouldn't have said anything. They probably messed up. They probably had bigger plans and wanted to do more, but now that at this point in the season, they realize they can't get it done, with a reasonable amount of time before the season starts to come to a close. Like, we're already halfway through the season, and they finally are announcing this. So this feels big time, like a big time band aid for even putting that information out there to begin with. Because I feel like if they didn't put that out there to begin this probably wouldn't have even existed, and they would
Yeah.
have waited till next season to roll this out. But now they feel like they had to put something out. So I think this is what they ended up with. Would be my guess. Because like, there's no way this is like putting that out there at the beginning of the season in the announcement and then waiting 9 months. This is no way this is what they came up with in 9 months. That'd be crazy. And then it's not even available to the players in the Latin American region. That's like insane if this is what they came up with in 9 months. So I have to hope that they just weren't able to fully do what they wanted to do and it'll get bigger and better in future seasons. But we'll see, I guess. But this is what we have for now. So pretty big bummer.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, yeah, I don't want to give them like too much credit or anything, but it's like it is a cool thing that it is happening. So like taking a step back, looking at it, this is a cool thing. An exclusive promo card that you can work to achieve throughout a whole season. That is a good, cool thing. It's just disappointing the way that like it hadn't it took this long
Honestly,
for this to be what the announcement is.
this is probably a bigger dub for collectors than like literally anything. Like, I'm sure the
Yeah, what's the
collectors
card
are
do?
you end your turn, you heal 10 damage from each of your Pokemon, I think.
So it's not very good.
No, so it's not good. So I feel like more than anything, this is like the collectors are pretty hyped for like an English version of this card, like another thing that they can try and, go out there and collect.
I mean, I have to imagine this thing will be worth a couple $100 or something like that as well. So that's like a cool little payoff as well for someone who has spent the whole season, like playing their locals, even if they went to one regionals or no regionals. They earned 200 championship points from some cups and challenges. They're able to cap it off by having this to remember their season by, or they can sell it as well. So yeah, it's definitely it is a cool thing, but disappointing the way that this is it right now.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if it's gonna be stamped with the year. Or maybe the artwork. Maybe they'll release
They
like
have been in the
different artwork.
past, like these Asia ones, they all have the year on them. I'm like
Okay.
99% sure.
We just can't see it.
Yeah, based on the picture that they put together here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my assumption is we're gonna get the different. Are we getting? Did they say if we're getting a new artwork?
Yes.
Oh, so this is gonna be something different than the ones that they've been having in Asia.
Yeah, in the post, they say something about how it's like a thing that yeah, here you go. Let me share the screen again. You can see here it's got the season on it, like this is 2021.
Oh, okay, there we go, yeah.
And it's stuff to, like, commemorate what did like, stuff from the year. Like, here in 2021, Crobat V was a pretty big card. Urshifu was huge in the video game and the trading card game. Flaffy is featured in here as well, like, right here, we see Curlia, we see, little Frigibax, like, there's people, like or Pokemon that are featured in here, Iron Hands, Chinchino, like, it's all intentional.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is very cool.
yeah. I guess will it be some kind of new stamp or something for, like Ace Trainer or something? Ace Trainer Awards 2024, 2025.
Yeah, that's or something like that, yeah. Yeah, because this
Be
says
my assumption.
Pokemon Card Game Championship Series 2024. Yeah, it'll say something probably about Ace Trainer rewards, which is cool.
Oh, alright. Well, yeah, so a little bit of, it would be a lot cooler if there was no initial announcement, right? If they just didn't say anything
Yeah.
initially, it would have been a lot cooler,
And
but
also, it would have been a huge dub because right whenever they announced the season changes, people were upset that they took away the championship point threshold, right?
yep,
So like if they just announced this, it'd be like, okay, there's no championship threshold to get to worlds, but we can get this cool promo card. All right, sure, why not?
yeah. Actually, that's something I would bring it up here for a second, actually, because that's something we haven't talked about at all. I feel like throughout the season, but I last weekend or this weekend, I heard quite a few people. They asked me about it. I heard people talking about it. Like, what is the championship point threshold going to be
Yeah,
for
for top
125?
125.
Yeah. So I just went and looked. 125 right now is 571. But it's definitely going to be we still have NAIC is going to be a big injection of points into the
Yeah,
um, US and Canada rating zone.
yeah, and it really extends a little farther down here because there's people who are in the top 125 that have automatic invites.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
They're not removed quite yet. So
yeah, so it'll extend probably down to like the 130 range, and yeah, the number that I've been hearing people say more recently. I actually talked to Hegster about this a little bit this weekend. And he's like someone who's like kind of on this cusp because he's been casting events, but he's also played a handful of events as well. And is like, I think actively trying to like also be able to achieve his invite. And he's like, he said like, it seems like 650 to 700. Like, I think if you get to 700, you're probably safe.
yeah, that's what I've been hearing people say too. I
Yeah.
currently have dude, people are asking me like there's so many people asking me before I got my Worlds invite from winning Merida if I was gonna end up with my Worlds invite. And with the events that I've gone to, I'm at 688 points. Now I did win a tournament, obviously, but even if I gotten second at Merida, as long as I get any points at NAIC, I basically
88.
would have been locked for my invite.
Wait, so this means based on your regionals, you got some finishes from locals here, buddy.
Get a couple, yeah. A couple
Mm.
local tournaments.
Maybe there'll be in a video at some point that people can watch.
Maybe we'll have to wait and see.
Maybe one that comes out today.
Chip's like, according to my calculations, but there's no way Chip has any idea. Well, I guess because of
The 8, bro.
the 8 does leak it,
The
yeah.
8 leaks the locals.
True, true, true.
Now
Stay
people just have
tuned.
to figure out what placements Azul got at locals.
You start piecing together by going and
Wait, no,
watching.
don't figure it out. It might spoil a video or something.
Yeah, don't go figure it out.
Don't
All
do
right,
the math.
let's move on. What do we got
Yeah.
next, Chip? Guess that
Yeah.
flavor text?
We got guess that flavor text, but before we have guess that flavor text, we do have to take a moment to thank our fantastic sponsor, Dragon Shield, for supporting us here at the Uncommon Energy Podcast. Of course, Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products on the market. We love them for their sleeves, the binders. Azul rocked the deck box this weekend, the brand new deck box that he had not used before. I love their cubing accessories like the cube shells and also the Magic Carpet XL. I also did get an email this week about a shipment that's headed my way. So I imagine there's some new product coming out that we'll be able to talk about next week, either a new product or some sort of other promotional gift. So I'm excited to see what comes in the mail. Shout outs to Dragon Shield for that. But yeah, Azul, we talked about the deck box last week. Why don't you tell us about how you felt about it after using it for a full tournament weekend?
Yeah, the double shell deck box. Gave it a try this weekend because I like the shell deck boxes. They're great because they fit my deck and my dice. But I was like, what if I can minimize one less thing I have to carry with me, which would be my extra sleeves, carrying around the box of extra sleeves, or can I just fit everything in the double shell? And everything felt fit very comfortably. A little bit of extra room. So if anyone has like a thicker, my dice case is pretty thin. So if anyone has something that's a little bit thicker, it would still fit pretty well to have your deck, extra sleeves, and a dice box in there. So it was great. Loved it. Definitely gonna be rocking it at future events for sure. The double shell Dragon Shield deck box.
Yeah, and we're going to leave a link in the description to this exact deck box, which is the what Azul used at the tournament this weekend. You can see it's a pretty good price, 479 US. And yeah, we'll leave a link to it down below. So if you want to pick up a couple deck boxes, of course, restock on some sleeves, all that good stuff, you can click the link in our description. You can use our code UEPOD, that's UEPOD, and get yourself 5% off. And that will in turn also help to support us and help us continue to make the content that we enjoy making. Big thanks as always to Dragon Shield for supporting us. And now, Azul, I believe it is time for Guess That Flavor Text. And this is the segment where each week you or I picks a card, reads the flavor text from it, and has the other host try to guess which Pokemon is featured on that card. We do have 3 lifelines you can use. If you get it right without using any lifelines, you get 4 points. For each lifeline you use, you lose a point. And those 3 lifelines are what set the card is from, what stage the card is, and read an attack name. We are still deadlocked at what is it? 32 to 29. I had a lot of people giving me grief this weekend in Vancouver for my current score on guess that flavor text. So, I'm going to step it up. I'm going to try to make something happen in the coming weeks, but we'll see if Azul can close the gap and theoretically take the lead here. I've got a card picked out, Azul. Are you ready to hear it?
I'm ready, Chip.
All right.
Me with it.
Its mane shines when it discharges electricity. They use their flashing manes to communicate with one another.
Well, it sounds like Manetric. I think Manetric kind of has like a main. If I can picture it correctly. I was initially gonna think Pyroar, but Pyroar doesn't have electricity going on, so I think it's Manetric. Can't think of another lightning Pokemon that has a main. The other Pokemon that for some reason comes to mind is Toxtricity, but I don't think Toxtricity has a main. I think using one lifeline to get me a little bit closer. But the thing is, this sounds like a. This also just kind of sounds like a. Oh, it could be Luxray as well, or Luxio. It doesn't sound like a basic Pokemon flavor text, so I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna use one lifeline to begin with here. What stage is the card?
It is a basic.
Hmm. All right, give me the flavor text again.
Its mane shines when it discharges electricity. They use their flashing manes to communicate with one another.
Could it be Joltik? Would what Joltik doesn't have like a mane though, it's like part of its body. So it could be Shinx, I guess. The basic of Luxray. Does it Shinx really have like a mane? I'm trying to like picture Shinx in my mind. I don't think so. We're gonna have to use another lifeline here. What yeah, what set does the card come from?
This card is from Black and White base set.
That's when we got like Zekrom and
Yeah.
Reshiram, right?
Yep.
There might have been a Shinx in that set. I honestly have no clue. It's definitely not. Well, it could be what is Manetrix basic? Manta
Electrike.
Electrike? It
Did
could
you
be
say Mantike?
yeah, Electrike, Mantike. Well, I'm down. I can only get 2 points at this point. So let's just go. Let's use an attack name here. Let's get an attack name.
Stomp.
Let's say Shinx and Electrike. All right, give me the
Sure.
flavor text one more time.
Its mane shines when it discharges electricity. They use their flashing manes to communicate with one another.
Dude, I feel like this is it's not. I'm gonna go with Electrike. I feel like it's not Electrike, but I can't think of what else it could be. I think it's gonna be. Well, hold on. Let me think a little bit longer here.
Do you read the comments on the podcast usually?
Yeah, like every week I'll read some. I don't read all of them always,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Someone, I will share this with you because it's a little hint.
okay.
So, and it's something that someone said about guess that flavor text, and they said Chip and Azul need to realize that the first 3 or so sets of Black and White only have Pokemon in them from Black and White.
Oh, like from that year a gen?
Yes.
I don't know what gen black and white is. It Gen 5?
Yes.
Okay, but I don't know what that means. That doesn't tell me anything. Like, I don't know I mean, now I know Zekrom and Reshiram are Gen 5 Pokemon, so that means yeah, but see, actually, yeah, past that, I literally have no idea. So, but Manectric is older than Gen 5, so now I know that. Luxray could be Gen 5 as far as I know. No, because there was SP, so it's neither of those Pokemon. Now I know it's not Manectric or Luxray.
Should have kept my trap shut.
But then I honestly have no idea what it is still. Give me the flavor text one more
One
time.
more time.
One
Its
more time.
mane shines when it discharges electricity. They use their flashing manes to communicate with one another.
Dude, I just still have no idea what this Pokemon is. Could it be Zekrom? Does Zekrom have like a main lightning Pokemon? Could it be Pachirisu? Pachirisu doesn't have really have a main. Oh, because can mane just kind of mean like coat, like fur? Mane doesn't mean just like a mane, does it?
I think I've told you enough.
But Pachirisu is older than Pachirisu is like Gen 4 or 3. There's older Pachirisus. Dude, I'm completely lost. I have no idea. I'm trying to think of like electric Pokemon. It could also be an electric Pokemon as well, but then I would be like, completely lost. So I can't even like really work off of that.
I can't believe you busted
Um,
out the fidget spinner and it's not helping you.
can
Even people just listening to the audio know you busted out the fidget spinner.
you hear it through the?
Yeah, a little bit. It's fine. I fidget with cards constantly. So,
Dude, I can't even think of like a lightning Pokemon from that set now. Black and white.
all right, Azul.
I know. Maine. Hang on, I gotta come up with something. I have nothing right now.
Gotta come up with something.
Lightning Pokemon. Trying to think to that set. I can look at the picture some artworks.
It was when you were a kid, so you probably still opened a booster pack or two.
Yeah. Dude, I have let's go with Mareep. I don't know. Was there but was Mareep Gen 5? Mareep's older than Gen 5. See, I just go with Mareep, sure. Just give I gotta do something. I see now that like made it harder because like I know I can easily tell if these Pokemon are older than Gen 5. So yeah, I just go with Mareep, sure.
Azul, it is not Mareep. I'm surprised the Pokemon who I thought you would lock onto, which I guess I shouldn't have because it's probably a Pokemon you don't think like you don't know exists is Heliolisk, but it's not Heliolisk. I'm just
Yeah, I would have
sharing what
never
the route I thought you might have gone down. Heliolisk.
Of course, yeah, classic Heliolisk route.
Bruh, don't hate on Heliolisk. But the answer, you remember a couple weeks ago how you gave me a furry blip bug
Yeah, yeah,
Pokemon that
yeah.
doesn't have any fur.
It's
Well,
like a fighting Pokemon.
how about maneless Blitzel?
Oh, Blitzel. Well, see, I did get to the point where I was like, I think Maine, they're just talking about like it's fur, like it's coat, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what Maine refers to sometimes?
I would assume I think it means like the fur around the neck specifically. So I think it
Yeah,
means
interesting.
this white strip here on the
Maybe,
Blitzel.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't know
Or
Blitzel
maybe
was
the little
a
bolt on his head. I don't know.
honestly though, but if I had gotten to Blitzel, I'd have been like, oh yeah, that's not older. It could Blitzel if I'd somehow thought of Blitzel.
Yeah,
Um
but you
well, I guess like
didn't.
oh, maybe it does mean the bolt on the head. Isn't that what it's called? Because like when you go to Zebstrika is basically like a zebra. And zebras have, like, that hair on their is that called a mane on a zebra? Like, the stuff
Mm.
on its head on it and, like, down its
Do
neck?
zebras have manes? Yes, zebras have manes of short, stiff hairs that stand up straight from their necks.
They do have a mane.
Allegedly. Oh, here you go.
Allegedly. Yeah,
Upright
okay, so that
mane.
is a mane, okay. Yeah,
There you
because
go.
whenever everyone thinks about mane, they think of, like, a lion's mane.
Yeah,
It's a little bit harder to, like yeah, I didn't that makes sense. Alright, so it must be the thing on Blitzel's head.
yeah. There's a
That's
little
also the
lightning
mane.
bolt on his noggin.
I would have not gotten to the Blitzel, though, so that's alright. We go next, and, guess we're still in a little bit of a point drought here. We'll see if you can make a comeback next week for I mean the viewers got to be like pulling their hair out at this point. And they're like, "Come
I
on,
don't
just
know. I'd
win,
be
get
surprised if
one."
too many
Whistle.
people got Blitzel this week, but we'll see.
See, but I think a lot of people can be like, "Oh, Gen 5 Lightning Pokemon," especially after you gave that big hint that I was even able to use. I feel like a lot of people would be able to get to Blitzel. But we had a couple majors this weekend, right? We had Vancouver and Fortaleza in Brazil. So Canada and Brazil, we had a couple majors, and it doesn't really matter which one we start with. What do you want to start with?
We can start with Fortaleza because it actually concluded first because we were on the West Coast. We were in day two and we saw the results, and I think a pretty cool result.
Yeah, that's what I
I
was going to
have
bring
to
up.
imagine it's not the first time it's happened, but it's maybe the first time it's happened in masters and seniors. It's probably happened in seniors and juniors before, but we had something really cool where a pair of brothers won the tournament and they played
Yeah.
the same 60, and it is the same 60 they played at EUIC.
Wait, did they play? Actually, I think they maybe
Oh, wait,
played a
no, no,
different.
no. Vinny's list is the same, but Gabrielle played something a little different apparently.
Yeah. But yeah, the Fernandez brothers, from top 8 and winning UIC to winning and winning the follow-up tournament they went to in Brazil with the same deck, slow pult, right?
Yeah.
Getting the double
The
dub to slow pult.
the Monkey Dory, the Ursaluna, all things included in here. Trying to see what this difference is in their list now. So it looks like Gabrielle had a second boss
Vacuum, both had
and
vacuum. Lost City, and Sinnoh.
mhm. Oh yeah. So and Gabrielle played no. So he cut the two stadiums for Lost Vacuum and second boss.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. So no tech for Lugia. I don't know what the Lost City is overly for, to be honest. Um, but cut that as well. Got rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. It's funny. It feels like they've been trying to pull this off for a little while now. A little while now. They've been both in top cuts of many tournaments in Brazil. Um, maybe another IC at some point. Yeah, there definitely has been another IC besides the EOIC most recently, where they're both in cut. But finally getting the double dub.
It's been a good weekend for Dragapult. So Vinny and Gabrielle both won. Andrew Hedrick won with Pult. And Nathan Osterkatz also won with Pult in seniors in Vancouver. So Dragapult winning 4 out of the 6 possible regionals this weekend. It did not win in juniors in either division. It looks like Charizard won in Fortaleza, and in juniors it was Gardevoir.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to mention about I forget if we mentioned this on the bonus episode or the main episode, but it feels like uh Gabriel Fernandez and then Nathan and Justin have separated themselves as like the top 3 seniors players in the
Yeah.
game. I think we give Gabriel the advantage over Justin and Nathan because he's the one winning the ICs,
Yeah.
whereas Nathan and Justin keep getting second to him.
Whoa,
But
whoa,
they
whoa. Nathan did win an AIC. Calm down.
but last year,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I
Where
meant this
Gabrielle
season.
did get DQ'd. So
Yeah, Gabriel didn't get to go up against him potentially. But yeah, despite that, yeah, Gabriel wasn't obviously in Vancouver to take them down, but they both made the finals still. So I
yeah.
think like further solidifying that those are kind of the top 3
Yeah.
seniors players in the game by
And this was a
far.
rematch from San Antonio. Nathan and
Yeah,
Justin played each other in the finals of San Antonio as well. So it's pretty wild to see.
and two of the players age up, I believe, next year. So gonna get some more talent put into the Masters division. But yeah, it's really cool to see that consistency out of them. For sure, those 3 players, they've definitely solidified themselves as, like, the best in the game by far, and I feel like I don't the European players, I just don't have that as big of a no on, like, the European seniors players at this point, I guess, but even then, when we were at EUIC, the finals for the seniors was Nathan and Gabriel, right? And
Yeah,
Justin I think Justin was in cut as well. I don't know
I
who
think
Justin
so.
lost to. The only, like, kind of unknown, I guess, would be more so Asia than anything, like the seniors players from Japan or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll get to see that at the World Championships, of course, and maybe even a little bit at NAIC possibly.
It's very cool and it gets me very excited about the future of the game. Like in 5 years, are we going to be talking about Gabrielle and Justin and Nathan battling out in top cut of Masters ICs or Masters Worlds and stuff? Like, yeah, there's just a lot of talent in the younger divisions right now for sure. But I mean, I guess it all comes from those 3 really. I mean, there's other great senior players as well, don't get me wrong, but I think you're very right that those 3 have kinda separated themselves. Gabrielle especially. I actually wanted to so this is the picture that's my Twitter header. This was at LAIC when Gabrielle won after winning Worlds. So he had won did he win NAIC and then win Worlds and then win LAIC? Is that right? It was
I
something like
think
that, I
so,
think.
something like that, yeah.
Uh, this is before the interview. Do you know what he said that made me laugh like this?
No,
We
what
were
was it?
standing up there on stage. It was after he had won. We were waiting for the interview, and he said, "I think I'm gonna get used to this."
I actually want to go back and check. Maybe Robin just hasn't put the information in for that, but he won before he won Worlds, he doesn't have anything on Limitless listed, but maybe there's just
Yeah,
nothing.
I think that it's a little, they don't have all the information
Yeah,
from past seasons in Limitless yet.
yeah.
Yeah, he
But he
won
also did
Worlds.
another thing that I think he mentioned, he's now won all 3 regionals that are happening in Brazil this
Dude,
year, I believe.
look at this season, man. First, 7th, first. What the heck?
Yeah, what the heck? He choked in San Antonio, apparently. What the heck what happened there?
He lost to Ostercats in top 8.
There you go. Yeah, it'll be interesting. That'll be definitely something that I'll be interested to see how that it resolves at NAIC, seeing how the seniors division plays out there.
Did you see
If
the
Gabriel can
tweet?
get the
Someone pointed out that Gabrielle could have the perfect season, like the maximum amount of championship
yeah,
points earned.
if he wins NAIC, there's not a single because we're assuming he has like 6 cups and challenge firsts at this point for sure, or we'll get them.
It's only
Then
4.
or 4, yeah, and then he'll have 3 IC firsts if he wins NIC, and then 2 regional firsts, which is the maximum amount of points you can get from majors.
Yeah.
Just needs to one more, just gotta win NAIC, and, I mean, there's no one else to really bet on at this point to get it in the seniors division.
He's definitely the favorite, I would say.
Yeah, by far. It's great. Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen something like this in the seniors division. We obviously, there's been players who, like, win a lot, and it's a little bit easier to win in seniors than masters, but
Yeah.
not to this extent.
I remember in, like, 2019, 2018, like, every single juniors regional championships was won by, Benny Billinger. Like, I think he won, like,
Yeah,
9 junior division regionals or something like that. That's, like, the closest thing we've seen. But, I mean, obviously, like, with each age division, it
it's
gets
harder.
turned up a notch, right? The player
Definitely,
base is
definitely.
better, um, which makes the wins a little bit harder to come by and makes it more impressive whenever someone's able to be consistent.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to the actually another thing with that as well is, like, will Gabriel's surpass Vinny in Masters, like, potentially, like, within the first season? Because we got, like, another IC top 8 for Vinny this season so far. Vinny did win a regional last season. So it's already been starting to and well, now won another regional, I guess this one, I didn't even, like, list that one, but won
Yeah.
another regional this season. So Vinny is starting to rack up the accomplishments, but I wonder if, like, what that'll be like when Gabriel is there alongside him in the Masters division.
All I gotta
Um
say for, their family, their parents, I always see their mom at tournaments, like, travels with them. We've shown her on the stream and stuff before. I think it has definitely become a worthwhile investment getting her kids into the Pokemon TCG and, like, being willing to travel with them all over the world. I think it's paid off, I would say.
Yeah, for sure at this point. But yeah, let's get into that then. Yeah, Vinny did win with Dragapult, and it was the slow pult, like you mentioned. We already kind of talked about the list. And then second place, Pedro Pertusi, no stranger to top cuts at major tournaments, no strangers to finals. And you know what? I'm gonna give a lot of credit to this placement here from Pedro putting Charizard down because this is one of the things that I kind of critiqued him and William on personally. Now, I don't want to say that Charizard is like the worst thing they could have played at these tournaments. But I am happy to see Pedro and William put the Charizard down and pick up a better deck and stop trying to force that because they're such good players. I feel like they were holding themselves back and how creative they could be in the format. I mean, Guardy's like nothing crazy, obviously, but like or how much success they could have by like just kind of forcing Charizard over and over and over when it's just really not been a very good play. So I'm really happy to see him put the Charizard down, pick up a better deck for the metagame for the format, and then we see like the instant success, right? Pedro Petrucci, one of the best players, touted as the best player coming out of COVID in the Latin American region, I feel like, for
Yeah.
a couple years, making his way back to a final here. with the guard for. And it's like not even it's not too crazy of a list. This feels like they kind of went back to what people were playing more recently with like the double bravery charm and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Azevedo played the similar list. I guess there's
I
probably
think it's
one
just the
card.
cape. I think instead of two bravery charm, it's one cape, one bravery charm.
Ah, okay.
I
So
don't
very
know how
similar list.
you.
Oh, no. Azevedo has a Badu in
Yeah,
here.
but I think I'm pretty sure Petrucci had the Badoo as well,
Did he
unless I'm
have it?
trolling.
Did I miss it? No, he
Oh
doesn't.
no, he doesn't get the yeah. So actually, a couple differences then. Yeah, has the Pheasantipity actually as well.
Yeah. Little different here on the lists.
Yeah,
They both had the triple monkey door, though. Both had the unfair stamp as the ace
yeah.
spec of choice. This was honestly a pretty stacked top cut, I would say, right? Vinny, Pedro, Giovanni Sasso, who's like the rookie of the year for sure, I would say. Um, and yeah,
I
tons of
think
other great players in here as well. Marcos Fuentes,
Juan, I recognize. I think I
Joao.
played against Juan maybe once or twice now. Juan, his name is always in at these Latin American regionals. He's always in like contention for top cut. I feel like or in top cut.
Yeah.
Unless it's a different Juan, but I'm pretty sure Juan Andrew is the right one. But yeah, Dragapult. I think I was gonna shout Francisco there, third place. Dragapult Dustnor still showed up in cut here. Um, and I think the biggest surprise in top cut for this tournament, and we'll look at the Vancouver cut specifically in a little bit, was the Turbo Moons. A Turbo Moon at each tournament made top cut. And they were both catcher builds. One was how do you say that? Joel? Just Joel, right? Yeah. One was Joel here with this build, and then we saw LeBoy make top eight over Vancouver, and we'll go take a look at this list in a little bit. Both playing Turbo Moon with catchers, which is a deck that didn't even wasn't even on my radar. I wasn't even thinking about it as like a bad deck that someone could play at a tournament. And I don't even know if it is bad or good. I talked to LeBoy a little bit in Vancouver, and he tells me he's like he was pretty confident in the deck, and he thinks like even the Dragapult matchup isn't that bad. Um, but yeah, this was definitely probably the biggest surprise of the weekend was the Turbo Moon showing up out of nowhere, kind of.
Yeah, and the fact that it did it at 2 tournaments for sure is a big part of the surprise there. There's also in this top cut, I think they went down to like 12 players.
Yeah, because Joao was in cut, I think
Yeah,
so.
so at
Yeah,
least 12.
I think it
But
was 8 and
there's
12 for both tournaments. Yeah,
there's a Sarah Ledge in here, so that's a little surprising to see. Another one that I don't think. I mean, it's like it's the type of deck you expect to see around you at a regionals. You might play one, but I don't think it's one that people expect to be a top cut contender really right
nope.
now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the deck is pretty mid to be honest. I'm not. This isn't like that and like that like when I looked at this top cut, I was like Sarah Ledge made cut, Ancient Box made cut, but like that doesn't like change my mind about either of those decks. Turbo Moon, on the other hand, definitely makes me think a little bit. Um, Yeah, I don't think like Sarah Ledger Ancient Box all of a sudden there's anything like new that really shifted up in the meta or anything revolutionary in those lists that like makes them big contenders. But the Turbo Moon, I could see it maybe being better than it was getting credit before, but I'm not really too sold on it yet, to be honest.
We had Marco Cifuentes with the Lost Box.
Yeah.
Looks
This
similar to Grant's build from EUIC. Has Secret Box though as the ace
Yeah, that's what
spec.
I'm gonna say.
Okay.
There is definitely some things that are a little bit different. The secret box, but is like I feel like the big takeaways from like the list that Grant played at UIC was the Jet Energies, the Artisans, and then including Crispin as well. And we see Marco here, double Crispin. But yeah, the secret box is something. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Also, like the lack of Pheasantipity. I feel like Pheasantipity is big for recovery in the Dragapult matchup. But
Discarding 3 cards from your hand with this deck sounds pretty miserable.
I mean, early game is not that bad. Well, it depends when you get hand disrupted.
Yeah.
That's like the big question is when are you getting hand disrupted?
I think Prime Catcher seems a little too strong in this deck, to be
I
honest.
I definitely feel the same as for sure. With Lost Box in general, Prime Catcher is just so insanely strong as a card in the deck, but you get a lot of value out of it, right? In the play, you get your Artisan, you get your escape board or the rescue board, which I feel like is the biggest find to be able to establish a rescue board early on, which is kind of
Sure.
cool. You know, if you need a situational supporter for the turn, the Crispin, the Boss, the Roxanne, you grab that, or just get a Colress, right, and use your Colress for the turn. So I don't hate it, but it's tough to argue that it's better than Prime Catcher for sure. Tough to argue.
And then we've got Austin Charles from the US heading down to this tournament and getting top cut with Terapagos.
Yeah, and this build I feel like is like this build has a lot of the things. It's like if you take the build that people were playing before UIC and then you take the Ryuki build post EUIC. This build is like a combination of both of those. Has the
Yeah.
Iron Bundle, has the Ursa Luna, but then still has the Monkey Dory and the basic Dark Energy as well. And one of the spaces, one of the areas that Austin found some room was cutting one of those ancient booster capsules. Only two of those in there is like the standout for me as far as the cuts go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it basically feels like kind of like trying to put everything into the Terrapago stack is what we have going on here.
Yeah. Down on one switch card as well, I think. So that's like another
Yeah,
thing. Like a lot of people were just playing two switch card. Ryuki was playing four. And so, finding spaces there too. And
yeah,
then ancient box as well in top cut here. That's kind of the last unique thing, right?
yeah. And this deck still sucks. This Ancient Box. It somehow got. I don't know how it got top cut. They're slacking down in Brazil, letting Ancient Boxes get top cut. What's going on here? Um,
No excuse.
no excuses for Ancient Box ever making top cut.
Dude, I feel like this deck should play one binding mochi if you
Just
play
hard to
with
find,
Hatronics.
and you have so many things that are just going to discard. The Explorer is it's really hard to take off Explorer. It's really
I
hard to you have
guess.
Pokestops. Like that just needs to be more fluid. Just you want playable cards because the deck does struggle in the early game, the initial setup. So you just really need cards that are playable. Um,
Sure. Makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah, so I don't have too much to say on Ancient Box except to hate on it. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. Congrats on the finish to Omar. Still, of course, getting asymmetrical cut with Ancient Box. That's like takes like another level of play and like mental fortitude to pull it off. But I'm gonna be a hater for a while. Who knows? Maybe rotation brings something new to Ancient Box as far as the metagame goes.
Speaking of metagame, let's take a look at the most popular decks in day two, and it was Golden Go leading the way in day two.
Yeah.
Um, would it be are the Dragapult variants separated? They're not. So it's like, yeah, Golden Go and Gardevoir
Well,
leading
Gardevoir's
the
tied
pack.
with Dragapult.
Yeah, Gardevoir
Yeah.
tied with the Dragapults.
Yeah, and yeah, so nothing's too crazy. Like under Golden Go, it's not that crazy, especially when you see how many good players chose to play Gardevoir, right? But yeah, Golden Go being number one is a little bit of a surprise, and I think with it being number one going today too, its end result was kind of disappointing. It was just one in top 16, none in asymmetrical cut. It was Diego
Yeah.
Casiraga, world champ, brought the Golden Go. Apparently didn't get the memo on the Spiritomb inclusion, which I saw a lot of people including at the Vancouver. So didn't have the Spiritomb in there. I don't know how much it actually affected his run, of course, but we saw a lot of players playing the Spiritomb in Vancouver. But yeah, this is the highest placing. I feel like that's a little bit of a disappointment for how popular it is in day two, right? The Dragapults got theirs, Guardy got its placements, but yeah, Golden Go
Only
for
two
being the
in
most
top 32.
for being the most popular deck in day two, I feel like that's definitely a disappointment. And it doesn't feel like it had there was I mean there was a couple claws, but it doesn't feel like there was too much hate for it overall. I guess there was 2 Iron Thorns, which is like a bad matchup. There's a couple Thorns, hanging out, which is, historically a pretty bad deck into Dragapult, and I don't think that's changed. So, I saw one of the players who actually played Thorns tweet out,
It was Ian.
yeah, he tweeted, "Haven't played in a while, decided to just play Thorns," and it went fine. It's basically what his tweet was, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and there is like the new tech, not the new technology I've seen the Thorns players utilize to tackle the Dragon Ball matchup is the double team Devo. So instead of having to 3-hit KO with Dragon Ball, you go punch Devo, and just try and run them out of energy that way. So you do have that going for you. I don't think it's enough still, but it is something.
It is something. So yeah, let's hop over to Vancouver now. And it's quite a different story here looking at these top cuts, right? This top cut dominated by Gardevoir, but there's a couple Dragapult in here, of course, as well. Still, this cut, a lot more variety. I mean, a couple Dragapult, a couple Golden Go, right? Um,
It's a 12-person top cut as well. So Lugia's and that one Gardevoir from Makani were effectively in cut. Um,
yes.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more variety, not as dominated by Gardevoir. And let's take a look at the meta breakdown, I guess, first. We can start with day one because we do have that here. Didn't get the best of the rest, but yeah,
Ooh,
Dragapult, nothing too crazy to be honest. Dragapult number one by a lot. And then some 10 percenters in there. Golden Go has kind of established itself, and I don't think it's going anywhere. There's only two more major tournaments in this format. You got Stockholm and honestly, I feel like the Europeans have some. Shout out to Yella, king of the Golden Go. They definitely have some true Golden Go stands over there. So we could even see it get up to like being the second most popular deck over in Europe. I feel like 12% plus. But it's definitely established itself. I feel like Lugia. I feel like a lot of people actually got on that as well. That Lugia was a pretty good play for this tournament. The way the meta was shaping up. So we saw Lugia kind of make a bounce back, I feel like, post UIC. And then Gardevoir still kind of hanging out up there. Archaludon took it from UIC, and Cloth had a little bit of a come up as well. And we don't have the best of the rest, but I'm sure Maridon and Lost Box aren't too far away.
Yeah.
And then going into day two, um, yeah, everything just kind of like the top. It's kind of like the rich get richer kind of situation. Golden Go, Guardy, Lugia all increase in popularity. Dragapult takes a slight hit. Archaludon, which is probably the worst of those decks, to be honest. I feel like a lot of people hate on Archaludon as just not being that good of a deck, and its power level is like kind of low, to be honest. Falls off. Lost Box kind of replaces it, and Cloth even has a little bit of a come up as well. So really top heavy meta going into day two.
Yeah, and Lost Box is one of the ones that you predicted to have a good tournament as well, and
Yeah,
it did do decently at least. Converting well from day one into day two. Can't imagine it was too crazy popular. Um,
yeah. I am
in
curious
day
how popular it
one.
was in day one. Feel like I saw none of it walking around the tables, but it could have been like 5% to 7%, which isn't too ridiculously crazy. But yeah, I thought it would have like a decent showing overall, and it did okay. It did
Oh man.
better. Yeah, it didn't. It did okay.
One of the people I was keeping track of on the weekend was Simon Trottier Lacasse, and he was playing Lost Box, but did not make day two, which I'm just now realizing as well. But he started like 5-0.
Hmm.
And then I think tied on stream, lost on stream. I think he lost on stream actually.
All downhill from there.
Yeah, he did not make day two, 5-3. But yeah, a couple lost boxes in day two, but none really in top cut. Top
Yeah.
cut. I there was a point in the tournament when I was walking around that I thought there was gonna be like a bunch of Maridon in cut because it was you and Ross Coffin, and then there was like one other guy too that was like way up there at the top for a
Rogerson.
while. Oh
Rogerson was
yeah,
up
yeah,
there.
Rogerson, yeah,
Yeah,
and he did end up making cut, but he
he
ended up
did
being
prevail. Yeah,
the lone Maridon representative. But yeah, let's start by looking at Dragapult, and we'll start with Andrew Hedrick's list here.
yeah, and nothing crazy. No Temple of Sinnoh, I think, is like the biggest standout for me, especially when like it felt like Lugia was a pretty good play going into Vancouver. So that's like the biggest standout to me. But besides that, it is Dragapult Dusknoir. Went for the 3-1-2 line of Dusknoir. We saw Natalie get second at UIC with the 3-2-1. I'm personally a big fan of the 3-2-1, but I think it probably is meta dependent a little bit. And I couldn't tell you exactly what should drive one over the other. But yeah, one thing we should mention probably Dragapult won both tournaments. Non-Dusknoir and Dusknoir both got a piece of the pie, right? They split it. Dragapult, I wouldn't say they dominated though, right? It just,
No.
probably the best deck in the format. I don't think anyone is going to dispute that. Took down took down both tournaments, but not without some hard fought battles for sure. So it wouldn't have been like seeing how everything played. I wouldn't have been shocking to see Dragapult not get the dub in the end, but it's also no surprise it did win both.
And this was Hedrick's fourth regional win, in addition to being an IC champion, winning an AIC last season. And yeah, I mean, he has very obviously established himself. Like he is like the best player, I would say, of like the young generation in the Masters
Yeah.
division right now, for sure.
But yeah, I don't even think it's close. I think it's just like
Yeah,
it's Hedrick.
he's like a top three North American player, maybe
Yeah.
like number two or number one. I don't know. It's top three for sure.
I think I would give him number 1. I'd give him the number 1 spot for right now for sure. His, like, success over the last couple of years is kind of,
Yeah.
undisputed across, um,
And
comparison.
it was cool talking to him, during the weekend. He said that he, did not have this trip booked, but went to EUIC. He gave Justin Templar a lot of credit for the list, and you can see it's the same 60 that he and Justin both played to EUIC. And
Yeah,
he said he played it at EUIC. He didn't have the best day too, but he felt so confident in the deck, it made him book the Vancouver Regional Championships because he felt
yeah.
so confident in it, and then ends up paying off massively. Wins his fourth regionals, undefeated in regionals finals still. So what? You have 8 regionals and 2 ICs. He has 4 regionals and 1 IC. So like he's half of you. Is that right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, he's half of my power level. He's lucky he didn't hit me in the tournament.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you next time, Hedrick. But yeah, this is what I've been saying recently is, like, if you prep well and play well, it only takes you, like, 2 tournaments to, like you should probably be in a top cut or, like, lose a win into top cut. Like, I think the game the for where we're at, for where, like, the higher level of competition is at, like, to win these tournaments, like, if you're a really good player, you prep well, you play well, even if you go 0-4 one tournament, the next tournament you should probably be on your winning in to top cut, as long as you played well and prep well in both tournaments. And we kind of
Yeah.
see that turnaround here from Hedrick. He felt super confident in the deck. Not to say he played bad at UIC, but it didn't go his way. Turns it around. Next tournament wins a tournament, right? Like just one tournament difference goes from top 128 to a dub. And yeah, I think most top players should be able to kind of replicate that. We even saw the same thing kind of from Lucas. Lucas at UIC had a pretty bad UIC finish.
Yep.
Next tournament plays the exact same deck. More maybe uh, changes up the list, but besides that, second place, right? Another great player and kind of just doing it 2 tournaments in a row, getting the second place here with the Golden Go with some interesting inclusions. I mentioned the Spiritomb when we talked about Diego's build earlier, but I think the big standout is Make It Rain. Or no, Strike It Rich.
Golden Go Junior.
Yeah, Golden Go Junior. And this is in here for its first attack. When you evolve it from a Gimme Gold during that turn, you do 120 damage with its first attack, Strike It Rich. And it's a way to kind of initiate the prize trade in the mirror match, is like the big one. And it can also punch Fighting Ogre Pawn. And there was actually a decent amount of players playing Fighting Ogre Pawn. Ian Robb and Vance Kelly were both playing the Ogre Pawn in Dragapult as like a way to just beat Golden Go straight up by itself. Because
Yeah.
Golden Go doesn't have a good way to hit Fighting Ogre Pawn, but Strike It Rich does work. That is a way to do that. Also, it's a way to initiate the prize trade in the mirror because the way the mirror match kind of breaks down for the prize trade is you don't want to attack with the 2 prizer first because if you do, you lose the prize trade. So the way I saw uh, Lucas and crew tackle this at EUIC is they would sit there and manually charge up Radiant Greninja and then use that as their first attacker, unless the other person initiated with a Golden Go. But you can just do it so much faster, so much more consistently just by playing the baby Golden Go. And it's also a good way to prize trade into Lugia sometimes because it can KO. Wait, does it KO? Yeah, it KOs the Chinchino, right?
Yeah, it does KO
120.
the Chinchino. Yeah.
Yeah, so it can give you that kind of
And it doesn't
potential
get
as well.
KO'd by Iron Hands.
Yeah, exactly. So it can give you another tool in the Lugia matchup as well, which was like I said, another a deck that had decent success in Vancouver. We saw, but it felt like it was pretty good for Lugia going into this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Lucas and Andrew, 2 great young players, both doing well. It was actually funny, we interviewed Lucas after top 4, and the other top 4 match was still playing Hedrick versus Caleb, and we asked him who he'd rather play against, and he said, "I want Hedrick because Hedrick's never lost in the finals, and I wanna hand him that first L." And then he
Nope.
didn't do that.
Yeah,
But I love the confidence, I love
yeah,
that.
for sure, definitely. And honestly, both
Um,
matchups were like fine for Lucas as well. I don't think he really cared what deck he went up against.
yeah.
Yeah, then there was the boy with the Turbo Moon. We already kind of talked about it a little bit, but yeah, Turbo Moon kind of came out of nowhere, took a top cut spot in both majors, and no surprise to see LeBoy playing Pokemon catchers because that's like
Yeah.
his card.
He
I
was
wonder
on
if he just likes playing it or if he actually thinks like there's a mathematical like reason to play catcher. It's like because of the variance of Pokemon catcher in the variance of the Pokemon TCG, playing a deck without catcher actually just doesn't make any sense. The advantages you can gain from Pokemon catcher means you should just always play Pokemon catcher, or he's just like, I don't know, it's cool to get heads and then your opponent be annoyed that you got heads on a Pokemon catcher.
when we bring players up for the stream, we always ask them like if they have a fun fact or something they want to share. And Layboys was I like flip cards. I like flipping coins, I think is what he said. And when I in the interview I asked him, and if I remember right, he said something like, it's obviously an incredibly powerful effect. So it's like, yeah, sure, sometimes it doesn't do anything, but like half the time, like it does something crazy.
It's
Which is
true.
true, which is true. He's not wrong.
Keep rocking it until it rotates, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
Turbo Moon did it. And like you mentioned, Caleb Rogerson, the Soul Maridon up there at the top, still rocking the secret box build. And is it probably pretty close to the list he played at UIC? I would imagine might be the same 60 actually.
it is the same
Yeah,
60.
a little bit better finish than, and this is also another example of that as well, right? Like Rogerson, I mean, top 64 to UIC is kind of whatever, but I'm sure he wants better out of his placements next
And he
tournament
also
around, top 4.
played a similar list to top 8 at Merida. I can't imagine it's
Yeah.
too many cards different. So it's like, yeah, 3 tournaments. I mean, a top 8, a top 64, which, I'm sure he wants better, but it's still a 2K cash, right? And then a top 4 at Vancouver. Pretty solid last couple weeks for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, nothing too crazy. The biggest standout card is like the vacuum. I think it's actually the only change from the Meritalist. I'm not even sure what the cut was, but yeah, there's a lost vacuum in there.
Yeah.
That's it.
So while we're talking about this, why don't we spend a little bit of time and talk about the deck that you played to the tournament? Um, and kind of some of the reasons, because you had played something similar to this to Merida, right? This is very similar to your list that you won Merida with, but you changed it up for EUIC and then kind of kept similar things from your build from EUIC for this tournament, but added quite a few more techs. So why don't you just talk about kind of your thought process? Because there's some cards here I think some people would be surprised to see: Blood Moon Ursa Luna, Defiance Band, Canceling Cologne. What's going on?
Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? I think out of AUIC in general, Miraidon just wasn't that good of a play. And if I had put more time into just like try out other decks, I probably would have hopefully gotten off Miraidon, but didn't put a ton of time to it, so stuck with it and played a Prime Catcher build that had 2/2 Magneton. But then going into Vancouver, I expected Lost Box to see a decent amount of success, more than it actually did. So my prediction on that was definitely not as good as I would have liked. And then I thought Golden Go was going to get up there and be like a pretty popular, pretty successful deck, alongside something like the Guard Wars. I didn't think Lugia would actually like get back up there to like the 10%, but it did as well. I thought Lugia would be pretty successful going to this weekend, so I want to stick with Miraidon. So I thought Miraidon was a really good play for the tournament. I don't like Secret Box Miraidon as much as Prime Catcher because I feel like your Dragapult matchup specifically and your Guardian matchup are so much harder with Secret Box. Prime Catcher does so much for those matchups. So I really like the Prime Catcher for that reason. Played a 2/2 Magneton at UIC, but I really wanted to play the Ursaluna Defiance Band package to basically auto win the Golden Go matchup because the Golden Go matchup I think is unfavorable without it because they can, if they find their Turo, they can create a board state of like double Golden Go. And if they do it early enough, you just don't have a way to kind of draw 4 prize cards before you use Raichu. So sometimes you have to like Iron Hands for 2, Raichu for 2, and then you just have no way to draw 2 prize cards. But it's pretty easy to do that. It's pretty easy to draw 4 prize cards against Golden Go. The last 2 can be pretty hard, but if you play Ursaluna Defiance Band, it's, like, really easy. You just hands twice, or you hands plus Miraidon KO their Pheasantipity, or you hands plus Raichu, and you can just, like, be super aggressive, go through all your generators, use your Magneton, and then be like, Ursaluna Defiance Band, like, off an Arvin really easily to close out the game. And I was pretty confident cutting down to the 1/1 Magneton from the 2/2 of EUIC because you have that late game Ursaluna to use, not just in the Golden Glove matchup, but other matchups as well, including the mirror match. Like, I think having the Ursaluna in here makes the mirror match from unfavorable to like 50-50 with this build now. Having that big late game attacker that's super efficient that just needs nothing to attack. And then the other tech card inclusion was the Canceling Clone, and that's mostly for the Lost Box matchup. Gives you a way to one hit KO the Pikachu, which like having that option is just super powerful. Unfortunately, that's not how my Lost Box match went. And it is actually kind of funny. Caleb played the exact same 60 as me, and every time he went up against Lost Box, he prized his Canceling Cologne. At least one of the games, 1 or 2 of the game. Like one
Oh
of his
no.
games, he was in game 3, just has game, and Canceling Colone's his last prize card.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
was kind of funny. So
Absolutely brutal.
Caleb would have made a way more use out of the Canceling Cologne than me if he just didn't prize it so much. But I actually used the
Bruh.
Canceling Cologne.
He hit Greninja EX. That's so
Yeah, that was
cringe.
tragic. He had Greninja EX Frostlass.
Oh,
Um,
that's gotta be terrible.
I would have actually, I actually got a decent amount of use out of the Canceling Cologne because I played against, I want to say 3 Slowpults and they all play Klefki and like a Gardevoir. And it's actually kind of funny. Game 1 against every single one of those players, they went second. I think one of them maybe went first. They opened Klefki game 1 every single time,
So
which was,
lucky.
but I had one of the games, I either had the answer with Canceling Clone or Prime, like almost instantly. So it was like fine. That's another reason I really like the Prime Catchers, like for those situations up against the, and that's like another reason I want to stick with Prime Catcher, and I felt more comfortable including the Canceling Cologne. Was Slowpolt is a deck now. Every Gardevoir has Klefki. I get to, turn 1, you go Arvin, Canceling Clone plus 4 Seal Stone, and you just like pop off and play the game. Um,
Anything interesting you want to talk about from any of your games here? We got to see you play versus Lucas on stream, which was a good one.
yeah. Um, Nothing crazy. Yeah, like my losses against Sean and Daichi, I definitely misplayed in in both those games. It wouldn't have like won me the sets, but it would have given me a better chance. So who knows if I just played better in those sets, that could be the difference maker for me. Ending top 32 to like making top cut and potentially going further. Because like I mentioned, I was really confident in my meta predictions, really confident in the Miraidon in general going into this tournament, and then really confident with my deck list choice, and kind of everything worked out. Not 100%, but close enough. My reads were pretty good, I feel like, across the board. So I feel like we run. I feel like I would like if we run this tournament. Like, this is one of those tournaments that I kind of want. Like, I want back. I want to run this tournament again because I feel like this is a tournament that I like. Out of all the tournaments I go to through the season, this is maybe the one I'd be most confident in winning. Out of every tournament I'll go to this season potentially. So it's rare that I ever like feel that way about a tournament. I think the only time in recent history is the regional Peoria where Tord won, where me and the crew played Reggie's. Like, I feel like Reggie's was an insanely good call for that tournament. Our list was like the best list. That's like a tournament I want back. I was like, that's like one of those few tournaments where I'm like, we should have done better. I should have done better at this tournament. I think Kid got ninth. Um,
Was the one before
uh,
this?
yeah, I was the one before the one that Tord won 2022.
Yeah, yeah.
One of those rare tournaments where I'm like, we definitely should have had a better result, or I should have had a better result. Um, the Reggies. It was just so
That's a
good for that tournament.
throwback.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the reason for the Defiance ban Ursulune, the Canceling Cologne. I don't know if I'd play the Canceling Cologne moving forward. If you think you're gonna have to deal, like, I like it for Lost Box, but I think you can get away with it without Canceling Cologne if you're only expecting Klefkis. But honestly, running this same 60 at like Stockholm, I wouldn't be mad at running this 60. Also, the Canceling Cologne can go further than that. Basically, auto wins the control matchup because it takes away one of their cheese win conditions. Um, and then it auto wins stall as well. So like it gives you there's an odd like your stall matchup was already good before it, but now it's just like you have another card for like stall and control and any other kind of weird cheese that you run into Mimikyus and Ogrepons and stuff like that. And it fits pretty comfortably. It doesn't feel over teched as well.
There was another Golden Go in Top Cut. We got Trevor Reed here with the Golden Go list. Doesn't have the baby Golden Go, but similar to that that build that we saw from the American crew at EUIC.
Yeah. Did get the memo on the Spiritomb. Does have that upgrade in there. Doesn't have the baby go. I guess like the other big change that Lucas had from the UIC build was the Roxanne as well. We see this one from
Yeah, the Roxanne was massive.
yeah, which is the big play we saw between Lucas and LeBoy, the Roxanne fade out
Oh my
with the
gosh, that play
Spiritomb.
was disgusting, dude.
It was a really, really sick
Oh, that
play.
was so sick.
I
So
think
for those who don't know, what happened basically is Leebly uh used Petulant to put his Roaring Moon EX active, used Calamity or what's it called? Frenzied Gouging to KO a Golden Go EX, put 200 damage counts on himself, took 10 from poison, and then Lucas used Roxanne, used I almost said Shuppet's fade out, used Spiritomb's fade out to deal 10 damage, pop the Spiritomb back to his hand. The Roaring Moon got KO'd by poison between turns during Pokemon checkup, and then Labely had 2 cards in hand and could not use Pheasantipity. It was so sick.
yeah, it was a really sick play. I think it did come back off the back of a pretty big mistake from LeBoy though. Like LeBoy should have tried to catch or KO Gimmighoul that turn, and stay off of the Roxanne.
Mm.
Stay off 3 prize cards for one more turn and let him build up a bigger board state. But he went like super aggressive, and then Lucas was able to refine the Roxanne and kind of punish that play. But I think LeBoy should have like played for because catchers are kind of dead in that matchup to begin with. So having them in your deck is just like not that good. So you get them out of your deck, and then you also just take a 1 prize knockout, so you avoid the Roxanne for a turn. Um, but it was and then yeah, unfortunately game 2 of that set was just LeBoy dead drawing.
Yeah. And then we do have another Dragapult in cut. This one is the Slowpolt from Anel.
Yeah, so Slowpoke seen success at both tournaments. I feel like the card I see the Fernandez brothers shout out sometimes is the Defiance Vest, and we see keeping that in here. I do like the 2 Crispin as well. The 1 Crispin feels so sketchy in the build from the Fernandez. I do like
Yeah.
the addition of the 2nd Crispin. And it's kind of funny because every Slowpoke I went up against throughout the tournament in Vancouver, I would just gust KO their Droopy or Dracloak with a energy, and sometimes they would never even attack with a Dragapult with the Phantom Dive.
Yep,
Um,
that's the merit or the downside of playing unfair stamped. Not having access to Sparkling Crystal is a pretty big deal.
yeah, so the 2 Crispin there, I do like that a lot.
We got a Archaludon in here from Hiroshi Takeda from Japan. Had the black belts training, had the Thornton, had the Dialga line.
Yeah. I think
Pretty
you do need the
straightforward build though.
yeah, I feel like you do need Dialga in our Chaladon. I think I'm coming around on that where it's like the deck is like just not powerful enough without it. I guess I'd give a I mean, he's one of the best players in the game, so may as well talk about it. But Brent Tonneson played Archaladon at this tournament actually, which was a surprise to me. I was surprised to see that he played Archaladon.
Same.
And he actually played Prime Catcher in here. He did have a 2/2 Dialga, which I guess it makes more sense to play the Prime Catcher if you're going to play a thicker Dialga line, like you're going a little bit more all in on Dialga, and you're trying to like activate it as soon as possible and kind of get ahead as opposed to play from behind.
Dude, low key,
Um,
I might need to go back and look at it, but this looks like insanely similar, like within 3 cards potentially of the deck that I was playing before Sacramento.
is that
Yeah,
close?
because I played Prime Catcher, like, it was before, like, our Chaladon had been, really kind of
How is it so
explored
much worse
thoroughly or
that
was, like, that
format?
popular. I don't know, dude.
Is it just not?
Drago, but
Oh,
it was like, Drago
Charizard.
was one of the good,
Charizard.
yeah, Charizard was kinda one of the big
Yeah,
problems,
that's
and,
the reason.
Raging Bolt.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah, the deck actually honestly just sucked back then.
Yeah, Raging Bolt
But
was tough. You could beat a bad Raging Bolt player, but
you came up with the
anyone
optimal 60 ahead of time, though.
I gotta get my small dubs when I can, bro. They're so few and far between these days.
And I think it's actually something you mentioned, like you was it the last tournament we kind of talked about? You're like, even if they don't make top cut, it doesn't hurt to scroll down and take a look at what Tord played,
Yeah,
or yeah, that's what you said for EYC, and I think Tord specifically. Yeah, like there's still because like these are still the best players in the world. Like
yeah.
even if they didn't win the tournament, like they're doing something different usually than the average player, and you can still like get a lot more to work with going into
Yeah.
your next
Like,
tournament.
if you for example, a great example here would be if you just looked at Makani's top 8 Gardevoir lists, you'd be like, "Okay, interesting. Yeah, Badoo plus Hyper Aroma. Okay, makes sense." But if you scroll down a little bit, Piper didn't make top cut. Ooh, what's this? Oh, played a Technical Machine Devolution in
At
Gardevoir.
the
That's
Hero Escape.
interesting.
Yeah.
Had the Heroescape. Henry Brand also played a TM Devolution in Gardevoir.
Yeah.
Those are, like, things to take note of for sure.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot more information to gain from a tournament than just what won, the meta percentages, going through every single list, or not even every list. You can just pick out some names if you want to, but even theoretically, going through every single list can be beneficial. Although there is probably a little bit more to it if someone like Henry Brand is playing a Devo versus TM Devo versus like just anyone playing a TM Devo on a guard. There's going to be a difference between those two players playing, of course.
We did see Aban Ahmed here get top cut with Pidgeot Control.
Yeah. And it's actually funny. I think a Bond lost his deck in the middle of the tournament.
Yep, I was gonna bring
Uh,
that up. That was this loss right here to Charlie Lockyer.
Dude, Charlie got so lucky, but it's the only win condition. Charlie was like, "Well, this is an L." I have no idea what Charlie was playing, but it'd be funny if Charlie was like, "Well, I can't beat control," and then it's like a Bond's like, "I lost my tech." Oh.
All I gotta say is you just gotta keep your eye out on, like, Charlie's eBay account or something, see if he's selling a Pidgeot Control deck.
You know where it went, but that is
Yeah.
really sick. It's a kind of a sick story here. I mean, and even a Bond like kind of shouted that out on Twitter. Was just like kind of like a shout out to the Pokemon community, the Poke parents who like helped him rebuild the deck, like uh, between rounds, right? Or while the round was going on, so he could have it for the next round. So the
Something
community kind of coming together a little bit for that's always cool to see.
when this was all going down, when round 6 got paired, I was standing out on the floor and watching people go to their seats and stuff like that, and people were setting up, and all of a sudden, I am up at the top tables, and I hear some commotion at their game, and Avon's like, "Oh, snap." And then like he looks over at the other table, like where he was sitting the round previously. You can see like they were at table 21. He was at table 30 the round before, and he sees a deck box, runs over to table 30, snatches the deck box, and runs back to table 21. And then the dude who's sitting at table 30 in round 6 is like just looking around like so confused. And then Abon opens it up, the deck box, and it wasn't his deck, it was the other guy's deck. Snatched it out of his hands.
Was it the
I don't
same
know,
deck box? Was it
it
like
was
the
the
same deck?
same deck
That's
box.
funny. That's so funny.
And then he ran back and handed it back, and the dude was like, "WT," like, he said, "WTF, man." Like, he was, like, so confused. Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. It did suck for a bomb though, but yeah, very cool Poke community dub moment there of everyone coming together, helping him rebuild it. It's very cool for
Yeah,
sure.
from lost deck to top eight, losing to LeBoy with the Turbo Wound, which is a terrible matchup for the control. There's basically no win condition um at all. We did see that though. Beat two Lugias, it looks like, on the way up. Has the Giacomo in. I don't even know what the win condition is. Something like Ursaluna Mist is probably the win condition, to be honest. Or not Mist, Ursaluna. Do they need the Mist? Just Ursaluna. You just penny loop the Ursaluna against Lugia, I assume has to be the win condition.
Yeah.
If Giacomo can get rid of, like, the legacy and the gifts.
Yeah.
I don't wanna think too hard about it. I don't like thinking about control, unless I'm playing it for a tournament.
I don't think about it. And then looking through the rest of the top cut, we did see a little bit of surprise here. Not the player, but the deck. Christian Labella getting top
Yeah.
cut with Reggie Drago. And what did he start in this tournament? He started like,
It was 8-0 day 1.
yeah, 8-0 day one,
9
9-0, and then
0.
went tie, and then lost in cut.
Yeah.
So it
I'm
feels a
not
little
con
bad to start 9-0 and then have to play an ASIM for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But, it's interesting. I think everyone knows Drago's still a very powerful deck. Just the Dragapult matchup seems so tough with Badoo. Definitely not convinced that, Dragapult is, here to stay as, like, a contender for these last couple of majors we have in this format. And we look at, like, one thing I looked at Christian's list, I was like, "Okay, he didn't even, like, play anything in here that's, like, crazy for the to deal with Badoo. He just plays, like, a Turo."
Yeah.
Like, Latias has been, like, standard in the deck ever since Badoo's been in the format, but it's like there's no Poppy, there's no Crispin, there's no, like, other card to, like, handle Badoo. It's just like, I'm still just Reggie Drago, I'm pretty good
And he didn't play against any
until the final. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Well, we don't know
until
what the
top
unknowns
cut.
are, I guess.
We don't.
Yeah. So, so I'm not sure. I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't, like, recommend anyone, like, pick it up for Stockholm, I guess, but, like, it's always gonna be a powerful deck, right? It's still powerful. Just feels pretty weak in the meta.
And let's look at Makani's list, and then we'll look at the two Lugia lists here. So Makani did play Gardevoir. It was a Badoo Hyper Aroma build, and that's kind of what you see, right? People pretty much are either playing Unfair Stamp with TM Evolutions, or they're playing this build with Badoo plus Hyper Aroma.
Yeah. Honestly, I have no idea what to no triple Monkey Dory is weird, because I feel like everyone's doing that, but does have the Radiant Alakazam, which is a big standout, I guess. And also, I guess, I don't know, is that, like, a question? Like, should everyone be playing Radiant Alakazam if you're not running Radiant Greninja? Because a lot of people aren't playing
Greninja.
Radiant Greninja. So, like, should everyone be playing Radiant Alakazam? I guess I just don't know, about that. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways that people are playing, Gardevoir, right? We saw that we took a look at the TM Devos, take a look at this build. What's the best way to play Gardevoir? I have no clue. You even look at, like, the Petrucci build, double Bravery Charm, hitting a little bit harder. Like we saw, right? The double Bravery Charm Drifloon. So, like, kind of a little bit more, I guess, old school at this point, take on Gardevoir.
Yeah.
Um,
Azevedo with the what's it called? The
Luxurious
luxury
Cape.
cape. And then we saw Piper with the um big what's the big cape? Hero's cape? Hero's
Oh,
cape.
yeah, the Hero's Cape, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that people are playing it. I have no clue what the correct way is. I haven't messed around with Gardevoir in quite a while. Um, but I mean, it's good. It's still good, that's for sure.
And then we got two Lugia decks, Joe Figliano and Salmit Kakatapu. And this is a pretty cool story for Salmit here because he was the guy who went into San Antonio cut. I think he was first seed or second seed. He was
Yeah,
up there with Snorlax, went like basically undefeated, did lose in cut, and then quite the change up um, going from playing Snorlax into Lugia. I mean, that's quite the switch up, right? Also,
yeah,
holy
definitely.
cow, look at how popular this list was. Why is this list so popular?
Is this the Kieran 60?
It may be, but it's
That's what I'm
just the
wondering.
the new format, so that's probably what it
Yeah,
is.
or this might just be the Salmon and Squad 60, to be honest. I don't know, but this might be
That's
the
a pretty
Kieran
deep
60.
squad, bro.
That
I
is a
don't
deep
know.
squad, yeah, for sure. If anyone was part of the crew, is there a crew? And if there's not a crew, did y'all hit up Kieran's Medify group? Because I could see that happening as well. Because this looks pretty close to what Kieran had been playing in previous formats for sure. And I like this list. I personally mentioned that I like the idea of two rats going into this tournament. I was like, Golden Ghost or Chaladons. That sounds like rat heaven. But if we take a look at the other list, there was actually an innovation to Lugia that I didn't really think about, which could be better, and that's the Radiant Charizard. Um, KO's Golden Go does not KO our Chaladon, but a little Iron Bundle boss action, and you can make Radiant Charizard KO on our Chaladon in the late game, which is cool as well. So that's an interesting inclusion. And it might be better than the second rat as well. It might be better than the the second round. I also feel like Radiant Charizard synergizes pretty well with Weirdeer, so I was kind of surprised to not see a Weirdeer in here because like you can go like with a big Weirdeer, and then you still have Radzard as like a pretty powerful attacker into the mid late game as like a one prizer.
I found Kieran's list from Merida, and I think this is the 60. Or not this, but the other list. But yeah,
Or
the
at least
Rads
pretty
are
close.
definitely very cool. Um,
And this was a little bit crazier. I guess there's like a Thornton, a Carmine. There's a Serena. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of Serena and Lugia. Like, you definitely want to play for boss, but I don't hate the Serena because a lot of decks have V Pokemon on their bench still right now. So like a fifth boss isn't a bad thing, for sure. But
and then
yeah,
you still have the option to,
yeah, it's still a pseudo draw supporter.
yeah,
But
way to
yeah,
discard some Archeops.
the Radzard combo is definitely the big standout here. The Radzard, not specifically Iron Bundle in there as well, but just Radzard in general. Iron Bundle is something.
Yeah. But yeah, there we go. There's the top cut. Other interesting decks. There was one Lost Box in top 32, it looks like. Similar build to Grant's list. Dude, Grant was getting dunked on so
Huh?
hard, but that's like the way people are playing Lost Box now, is the way
That,
he built his deck.
that's an Artisans. The Lost Box that I played again didn't have Jets. Was playing Artisans though. It's actually funny. I talked to him. He's like a first year player from Japan, and he hasn't been able to get into any Champions Leagues. So he came over. He played in the UIC, and then he came over here and played in Vancouver most recently. Um, he looks like he played a couple ICs last season as well. But yeah, he said he hasn't been able to make it into any Champions League. He has not won the lottery. So
He's just
um,
trying to spike a dub somewhere to get his world's invite.
yeah, definitely. And that kind of, I mean, that just kind of sucks to be honest. Like, especially like you can chain Champions Leagues.
Oh, this is cool. He had a
Um,
Monkey Dory in his deck.
yeah, he
No,
had the Monkey Door there as well. You can, like, chain Champions Leagues, 'cause, like, if you place high enough in one, you get invited to the next, but if you can never play in one, you can't actually ever get the opportunity to, like, chain them. Oh, I guess also, what is the thing now? If you win a city league, you think you get priority registration for the next Champions League,
something
so
like that. But you
you
can
gotta
only play in
in
one
one
city
city
league.
league. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, it's tough over there, man. It definitely sucks. Hopefully they like the game well, I want the game to get popular as it over in Japan where there's like 10,000 players trying to register for tournaments or whatever, but hopefully there's like some kind of solution for that. I don't know what it would be. A lot
Yeah.
of ways to get priority registration probably has to be it. But yeah, I can't think of anything else to mention as far as decks go.
Yeah, only one Terapagos in top 32 after it won EUIC, and Salazar here was playing the same 60 as Ryuki.
Mhm.
But yeah, other than that, that's Vancouver. Um, yeah, let's recap our predictions. Sorry, I don't know. It's
You're
getting late.
good.
Recap our predictions here. So, first one was which version of Dragapult will finish higher? And this was for both tournaments. Azul said Dusknor. I said no Dusknor, and we were
So
both right.
yeah, we're both right. They both won. There was 2 tournaments.
I guess you could technically get the edge because Vancouver was the bigger tournament.
No, it's a this we both predicted first. First is first.
First is first. That is true. And two of the best young players in the game for sure from their respective generation. And then next one was prime catcher's highest placement. And you said second. I said 12th. And the answer was actually a top 4 finish from Le Bouy with
Yeah.
the Roaring Moon. Shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to the boy. Getting Prime Catcher back on the map after its abysmal showing at EUIC, right? There was 0 in Top Cut or something like that.
Do you remember when that card
Um,
came out and people were like, why would I ever play any other ace spec?
yeah, it was kind of funny. But now that did we have Counter Catcher out at that point though? We did, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely, and that's like another thing I was talking to as far as like we talked about last week about the Mega Pokemon coming back and people kind of um, do mean about that, but it's like, I don't know, the card designers, they seem to be doing pretty good. Like, we have stuff like Prime Catcher existing, and it's not in every single deck, right? I think we're kind of the game is on track to continue to
Well, I think,
feel pretty good.
yeah, I think one of the things is definitely like, um, they printed so many dang ace specs. Like, there wasn't, it's like they were just kind of throwing every little idea they had at the wall when it came to ace specs. And they're like, surely something else will get played besides Prime Catcher.
I mean, maybe they thought that, but maybe they just knew that prime catcher isn't that good, especially in a format where counter catcher exists, right? That's
Sure.
probably a big thing as well. Is like counter catcher exists, so
We will eventually have a format where there is prime catcher and no counter catcher. So
that'll maybe be a little bit more interesting. We'll see. But then it's definitely more powerful for sure.
yeah. All right. And then our last prediction was how many. This was for. Well, it was for both tournaments. We can say it was for both
Just for
tournaments.
both tournaments.
How many Canadians would there be in cut? And the only reason this is on here is because Azul wanted it to be. Don't come at me, Canadian friends. It's okay. And Azul said three. I said four. And indeed, the correct answer was four, with Christian Labella getting ninth place, but was still in top cut, of course.
Yeah, it was close. It was a close one. Almost got it, but America did get the dub at the end,
True.
taking the whole thing down.
Over
Shout out
Canada.
to shout out to Hedrick for defending America here in this one, getting the dub.
You mean
For sure.
well, I mean, he wasn't defending, bro. He was invading.
Same difference. I mean, it's a Pokemon tournament happening in Canada. We're defending the Pokemon tournaments from the Canadians. Can't let them. We have to limit their dubs. Landon already got one this season, so gotta limit it. I think one per season is good enough for the Canadians. They can be happy with that.
They should be thankful. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we'll let them get one a season.
Holy cow.
Um, but it won't be their own. We're always taking Toronto and Vancouver. They
Ooh.
gotta come down here and we'll let them squeak out one dub a season. That's it
All right.
though.
All right, buddy. Well, you got any other things you want to say before we get out of here and get into our bonus episode?
Nope. Send us out, Chip.
Well, appreciate everyone for listening as always. And if you did enjoy, be sure to leave us a like, a review, a rating, comment, subscribe. All those things help us out a ton, help more people discover the podcast and figure out what we're doing over here and get involved in the Pokemon TCG, which is the reason we're all here because we love the game. And if you want to stay up to date with us, the best place to do it is over on Twitter. Like if you were wondering this morning, oh, why is there no new Uncommon Energy episode? If you had been following us over on Twitter/X, you would have known that we were delaying for a day. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie. You can follow Azul at Azul_GG. And then you can follow the podcast at Uncommon_Energy.
Excuse me, I was burping. Yeah, appreciate the support as always. And there's no tournaments this weekend, so there's no one to wish good luck. There might be something going on in Asia. It's like there's really hard to ever tell when anything's happening in Asia besides Japan. That's the only ones we really have the intel on consistently. But um if there is anything going on in Asia, let us know in the comment section down below if you know, because that might be something I would actually even personally tune into, do a restream of. But as far as I know, there's not anything happening. But catch y'all next week, Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern.